Hello friends, in this video I will be talking about cloning in JavaScript. So cloning is a very simple concept. What you have to do is if I give you one object, so object 1, then you have to make one copy of that object, say object 2. So there will be two separate objects. That is called as cloning. Now there are two different types of cloning in JavaScript. One is shallow cloning and another is deep cloning. So let us try to first understand what is deep cloning. Say assume that you have got one object and that object 1 has got a lot of nested objects inside it. So if you want to make a deep clone of this particular object, then all the nested objects are also copied into object 2. So object 1 will be a completely different object and object 2 will be completely different objects. Also the nested objects will also be completely different. But if you talk about the shallow cloning, what happens is that in object 1, whatever nested objects are there, they are not copied into the object 2. So the nested objects are shared between object 1 and object 2. That's why it's called as shallow cloning. Now I will explain this with the example. So let us jump into the coding now. So here we have got one object user 1. Let us say you want to make a copy of that object. So there are different ways in which you can make a copy, and this is one of the syntax. This is a REST operator. So once this statement is executed, user 2 object will be created and then user 2 and user 1 objects will be different. So let us see if it is a shallow clone or the deep clone. Now I'm just gonna print user 2. Okay, so let us run this one and see what happens. What is the contents of user 2? So you can see user 2 contains the properties of name and address, and the values exactly similar as user 1. But this is not a deep clone. This is a shallow clone. The reason being, in user 1 there is a nested object called as address, and this object, this address object, is being shared by user 1 and user 2. So I'll just prove this now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the change in the user 2 object's address property, and then we will print the user 1. So the changes will be reflected in user 1 as well. So user 2 dot address. Say let us change the city of this one to Sydney. Okay, now I have changed the city for the user 2. Okay, but if you print the user 1, what will happen is that user 1's city will also reflect as Sydney. So I'll just print user 1 as well. Yeah, so you can see that user 1's city is also changed to Sydney and user 2's city is also changed to Sydney. So I'm just gonna print user 2 as well here, because this user 2 that we have printed is before changing the city. So I'll print the user 2 here, and you will notice that for both the user objects, city will be Sydney. User 1 objects that's address and city property is Sydney. User 2's city property is also Sydney. The reason being, this address, this object is a nested object, and that's why this object is being shared due to the shallow cloning. Now, why this is happening is because this operator, REST operator, makes the shallow copy of the objects. What it means is that it will not copy the nested objects, it will just copy the primitives. Okay, it will just copy the primitives, but it will not make the separate copies of the nested objects. Nested objects will be shared between user 1 and user 2. That's it about cloning. If you have more questions, let me know through the comments. Thank you for watching.